Before I introduce your moderator, I do have some housekeeping to do. Ty Whitfield, who is running against Tony Troutner, had a long-term family vacation planned and is unable to make it, and she sends her sincere apologies. Russ Hanscom pulled out of the debate this morning due to work commitments. So it is now my pleasure to introduce our moderator for the luncheon. Carmen Goers is the co-chair of our government affairs team and the president of the, past president of the South Sound Chambers of Commerce Legislative Coalition. When she isn't volunteering, she is the vice president of business, banking, sales, and services at Harborstone Credit Union. Please help me welcome Carmen Goers.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for coming to the September membership luncheon with the City Council candidates. Thank you. We have a big decision in November, so please remember to vote. So we will start off with Ms. Tony. 90 seconds.
I want to thank the Chamber for inviting candidates to come and introduce themselves and speak today. My name is Tony Troutner. I am running for Kent City Council, position number 4. My husband, Brett, and I have lived in Kent for over 17 years, where we have raised our 2 boys. They have both graduated from Kent schools. I would like Kent to be the place that they call home when they decide to settle down and raise their family. And in doing so, I want to keep our city a great place to live, a great place to work, and a great place to raise a family. And in doing that, I will promote healthy lifestyles and promote maintaining our parks and our programs for our youth and families to continue to enjoy. I will also work to ensure public safety by making sure the police department and our police officers have the tools they need to do their job effectively. I will also work on improving and maintaining our infrastructure, which means our roads and our sidewalks, and making sure we are an attractive place for businesses and families wanting to call Kent home. I've spent the last few years getting more involved in listening to residents around the city. I am part of the Kent Downtown Partnership. I participate on the Kent Police Youth Board, and I'm also a co-chair of the Severe Weather Shelter. It's nice to see some familiar faces today, and I appreciate all the support. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Paul?
Hi, I'm Paul Addis, and I live here in Kent with my wife Kathy, and I am an Army veteran. I work for Alaska Airlines and I'm the senior business analyst in the finance division. And my wife and I are very involved with the community service organizations, again, as we have been everywhere we've lived. My whole life, in fact, when I was 7 years old, I lived in an inner city mission in Macon, Georgia, where our family lived there. We helped people off the street get food and clothing and cleaned up, get jobs and places to live. So that's kind of been in my blood my whole life. And I think that being on the city council is another way to give back to the community. My experience in finance is 28 years in the airline industry, and that experience in the finance part of that, I think, is also a very valuable experience to bring to the city council, because I think finances affect just about everything we do here, as you well know. And so for me, the city council of Kent is a place where I can use that experience to help make sure that Kent runs the city with fiscal responsibility, controls. I love Kent. That's why we moved here. And so I say thank you to everybody that's run this city up until now, because it's a great place to live. There's always room for improvement, and I think I would love to be a part of that improvement and making sure that we use your taxpayer money in the best way possible, where the least waste and the most benefit to you. So thank you.
Thank you. Satwinder?
Hi, my name is Satwinder Kaur, and I'm running for Kent City Council, position number 2. I grew up in Kent, graduated from Kent Ridge High School, going through Kent School District, and my son is a 7th grader now at Meridian Middle School. I have a bachelor's in business administration, supply chain management, and minor in accounting. And I have MBA in technology management from University of Washington, which gives me the expertise in leadership, finance, and management. I have over a decade of experience in senior management and leadership. I started working as a package handler, loading, unloading trailers here in the Kent Warehouse District while being a single mother and going to school. And I was fortunate enough to rise through the ranks to be a senior manager, overseeing 200 plus employees with a multi-million-dollar budget, with a Fortune 100 company. And I also have experience in policy and local government. I worked for Kent City Council as their executive assistant while getting my MBA in 2012 through 2014. And outside of work, I've been involved in many service organizations, working with many amazing nonprofits around the city. Currently chair Culture Communities Board with City of Kent. Serve on the board of Kent Historical Society, Living Well Kent, part of Kent Rotary, and I'm running I will prioritize public safety, infrastructure improvements, economic development, fiscal accountability, and make sure we have funding for our parks.
Thank you, Satwinder. Ms. Brenda.
My name is Brenda Fincher, and I am currently on the City Council, sitting in position number 6, and I'm running to retain that seat so that it can continue working to make Kent the great place that we know it is, and to make it even better. I believe that every person, every business in Kent deserves the opportunity to thrive. My family, we've been here for over 25 years, and in that time, my kids grew up, they went to Kent schools, deserved earned a great education. We have lived in a safe neighborhood. We had lots of entertainment and recreational opportunities here, and I believe that every person in Kent deserves that same thing. We all want the same thing. It's a different Kent than I moved to over 25 years ago, but we still all want the same thing. We want to be successful. We want the opportunity to thrive. I've told you that I have an obligation to welcome and serve all of the diverse communities and all of the diverse populations in Kent. That's one of our gifts that we have here, and you've seen me do that out in the streets and meetings, and you've seen me not only doing that now during election season, but the entire time that I've been in office. So I want to make sure that we have a safe Kent. Our police department, we're graced to have a great police department who wants to work with the community. We've done a lot of great things, and there are more great things to come. So thank you very much, and that's it.
So the first question, we're going to start with Paul. Parks has developed a backlog of maintenance needs. How do you propose we fund parks? What is your long-term sustainable funding solution?
Well, I think the Sustainability Committee came in and gave us our priorities. Parks didn't make the top 5, public safety, infrastructure, technology, things like that did. And I think those things are always going to take priority because nobody can enjoy the park without feeling safe. So until we can fund everything up to that point, parks is going to be missing because there's such a backlog. So I think rather than saying we're going to have to take it from the current revenues, we're going to have to find different ways to fund it. So I'm looking to provide some proposals, maybe some more voluntary proposals, because we've got a great community here in Kent that loves the parks. Things like perhaps a lottery for parks, so people that want to support parks can do that and maybe win a $1 million. And also things like corporate sponsorship. You see the Kiwanis Tot Lots. We have the Kiwanis is on the name of the sign, and they help put those little lots together. So that gives you more of a feel of my philosophy of government in this area, is that I believe in more free market, say, volunteerism on that issue because the people want to support it, but the money from the taxpayers isn't necessarily there. It's going to take priority over those other things like public safety. So we've got to find other ways to find it, and there are many good ideas out there. There are people around the country that are doing good things, but we need to find the best practices and implement them here in Kent because we all want to have good parks. Thank you.
Next would be Satwinder.
Thank you. I agree with most of what Paul said. Being a Green Kent Park steward, myself and my son, we have worked in many amazing parks in the city. And we need to leverage that. We have Green Kent Park stewards. We need to leverage on that program and encourage more community service organizations to join Kent Park's program, the Kent Park Stewardship Program, and join as stewards so they work in the parks. I mean, my son and I, we are in Clark Lake Park, West Fenwick Park, all these different parks doing the volunteer work that we're doing. And we can have more organizations involved in that. And I would also look to balance our budget by state matching funds and grants, applying for more of those. And partner with our communities to utilize, like we have Adopt a Stray program now, Adopt a parks program, and looking at, just like Paul said, also what I believe in, looking at nationwide, what other cities are doing, what is working, and how we can make it work here in Kent. Thank you.
Brenda.
I think a strong possibility would be Parks District. The parks, I think, would stand a much better chance of operating and being successful, being able to use the money that they need and obtain that money if we had a Parks District. And with that, we have a number of other cities. We have Bellingham, Tacoma, a number of other cities in the state that have been Parks Districts for some years. And with that, they are their own junior taxing district, basically. But they then are also in control of their own future. That would be a ballot measure, which also gives the voters the yes or the no. With the sustainable funding model, I think one of the things that didn't happen that would have been helpful is for people to actually have a field trip of the parks, which is what I had done when I was on a parks committee, and it was a great education. This was back in 2012. I was able to see what the parks were. I think we often discount the effect that parks have on the sustainability of a city, and that being the financial impact because of taxes. When you look at yourself, you came to Kent. Did you not check the schools? Did you not check to see what was going to be available for your employees if you were a business? What was going to be available for your family if you had kids, or even for yourself, the health benefits of a park. Many people can't afford to join a health club, but they can walk in a park.
Thank you, Brenda. Tony.
So as I mentioned before, parks have been important to my family, and as I'm out talking to residents, they're important to the residents in our community. Brenda had mentioned the idea of a parks district, and I have had the opportunity to sit down with Julie Frescandola, who is our parks director, and talk to her about that piece in particular. She came from Tacoma, where they have a very successful parks district. I think that is an opportunity for Kent somewhere down the road, but I think it's something that we would need to educate our residents about and what that means. Because that would mean additional taxes for our residents. I think there's other ways to fund parks and to make it sustainable. And part of that is a tough decision of prioritizing the needs of our city, looking at the different departments and determining where our needs really are. And if there's any way we can have, additional funding that would go to parks versus going to a different department. And again, that comes with prioritizing the needs of what's happening in our city and taking a look at where we can put money into parks that does make that sustainable. The city council did put together a plan that is giving money to parks, but it's not something that's going to sustain our park system for years to come. It's kind of a Band-Aid and only giving us a couple years to get through. So I think we need to take a look at additional funding. Thank you.
Question number 2, and we're going to start with Brenda. What experience and education do you bring to the position that makes you uniquely qualified?
I have served on the city council for almost 4 years now. And in that time, I've had a lot of time spent basically doing what I take as field trips. So I've invested time in reading into the positions. I've had the benefit of working with some of our city managers and from other places. Also, I ran my own daycare when I was younger and have served on a number of boards, including Kent Youth and Family Services as board president, along with a number of other positions. And so with that, along with my other life experiences, I think that I am very well qualified.
Thank you. Tony.
So as a small business owner in Kent, I consult for market research firm. So I am a data analyst, and I am actually kind of a numbers person. I like to do spreadsheets. I think that gives me experiences in working with budgets. When my boys were little, I got involved in the PTA. Throughout the PTA, I served on various positions all the way up to PTA president and Kent Area Council PTA. That gave me the opportunity to work with lots of schools in Kent and help them with issues they were having within their own PTAs, and again, working together with colleagues to balance a budget and make things work. I am a board member on the Kent Downtown Partnership, so we work with the city on various projects, and as a council member, I would like to see some of the growth in downtown Kent happen where we can attract businesses and have opportunities for our residents to visit other establishments, including restaurants and retail. I am a co-chair of the Severe Weather Shelter for the City of Kent, and we work with our homeless population to make sure during the winter months when the temperature drops, we have a warm place for them to stay. And I also have been attending council meetings, so I'm educating myself on the issues within the city.
Thank you, Tony. Paul?
Yes. Okay, thank you very much. So, and first of all, I'd like to say I think Satwinder and I are both qualified in that sense to be city council members. I think the question was what makes us unique. I've certainly got a lot of experience in finance, as I mentioned. I was elected the vice president of Belltown Community Council down in Seattle when we lived down there. We worked with the Friends of Bell Street Park to create a park right there in the middle of the city. It was pretty interesting. And the Metropolitan Improvement District that they had down there, that was a great thing that businesses supported with funding, and as well as the LEAD program, the Law Enforcement Assistance and Diversion, which was kind of a unique thing. So I've got a lot of experience in that kind of thing. As a campaign, being unique, I guess a unique thing about me as a politician is that I do not accept funds from businesses, corporations, unions, PACs, any lobbyists, special interest groups, only from individuals like you, because I think that politics in America, that can be a problem for how people govern those interests. So it's something that's unique to me in that sense. So that gives you a little idea of my philosophy of governance, is that it should be about the people, because I do believe that the only legitimate end of politics is people. So that is something that I think in most races would make me unique nowadays.
Thank you. Satwinder?
Okay, as I mentioned earlier, I grew up in Kent, and I've been involved in many different organizations, so that gives me a greater insight on our local issues and challenges in Kent. My educational background, having an MBA, gives me unique skills in leadership, decision-making, and finance. And in addition, I have certifications in lean management and Six Sigma from University of Washington. Having worked for Kent City Council for 2 years also gives me expertise on our local government, how it works, and having a knowledge of different departments and different issues within our city, because I got to listen to our residents and their concerns, and I'm doing that as well during the campaign. I am passionate about Kent, and my way of expressing has been volunteering in the community. You'll probably see us, my son and I, both out there volunteering for different organizations doing something. As a matter of fact, in 2016, my son completed 100 hours of volunteer in Kent. And for 2017, from January through August, he's already completed 103 hours because he upped his goal and wants to do 200 this year. So my strengths include my passion to serve, and I will bring that to the council. I grew up very humble, being a single mother, working 2 jobs to support my family while I was going to school. And I already talked about my experience, so I will bring dedication, commitment, and hard work to the council. And I've been endorsed by Kent firefighters, mayor, and majority of our council members, so that's also something unique about me. Thank you.
Thank you, Satwinder. Special delivery.
Oh, thank you.
We are a caring community. So, question number 3. Given that the B&O tax has been a controversial topic in the business community, please discuss your position on how you would propose to utilize this tax. And I start with Satwinder.
So B&O tax, yes, has been brought up in several different debates lately and conversations. What I have learned after talking to the chamber members and businesses and community has been, it's a conversation that needs to be had. Currently, B&O tax is for the roads, and we will, I believe it should be used for the intended purpose. But if it ever comes down to it, and the city ever, after looking at all the options, and if it ever comes down to it, then the city needs to sit down and have a conversation with the businesses and the chamber to make sure it's an acceptable solution and not something that just, we want to
enforce without having a conversation.
Thank you. If you're trying to keep track of how I'm moving through, there's no rhythm. So I'm going to go with Paul.
I was going to say, I could be next, who knows, and I am. Okay, so the B&O tax, I wasn't on the city council when they made that first deal. I wasn't there when they did anything to amend it. My understanding is that the idea of it is that the businesses, the warehouses and all, depending on what business you have, contributes more to the degradation of the roads, and therefore you should take on some of that burden. And I think that's okay. The businesses obviously agreed to that. The idea of using some of it above a certain amount for other things, I think, is part of the issue that people are debating. And I think whatever the cost of the roads improvements were back then is probably a lot more now, just like we're seeing with the transit parking that's doubled in price. So I think, in my opinion, is if you're going to take money from somebody, in a very practical sense, money is freedom. If you're going to take money from somebody, you should have a good reason to do it. And so I think that the idea of the B&O tax on the businesses should be for the things that the businesses are impacting. And if we need money from other stuff, it should come from the people that are using those things. So I don't have a problem with the B&O tax money being taken from businesses for things that businesses are impacting solely. And I think that need is going to grow. The amount of money, it's going to grow. And so I don't know that we'll ever be able to do everything that we need to do with the roads with just that money anyway.
Okay. Thank you. Brenda?
I see the B&O as being used for the roads. I wasn't on the council either at the time, but what I looked at and what I read, including a map of streets to be repaired, that was the impetus for having the B&O tax at that time. And so I think that we don't change it without having a conversation. I think that it's important to do what we say we're going to do. So I don't need the whole time period for that one.
Thank you. Tony?
So I'm also aware of the B&O tax and when it was first established. At the time, the council anticipated about $5 million to come in from B&O. And I believe right now we are bringing in close to or over $9 million, which is about $4 million more than what was anticipated 5 years ago. As a council member, I think that it's important from time to time to relook at those ordinances and maybe take a look at the B&O tax and decide if the money is where it's currently going is the right place for it. You know, things were different 5 years ago than they are now, and again, we're bringing in more money, and I think it would be wise for council to have that conversation. And maybe the decision is that, yes, we need to continue to make sure those roads go to maintaining our streets and sidewalks. Or maybe we look at the situation and determine that, you know, a majority of that money goes to streets and sidewalks and some of the money goes to a different department. We need to continue to take care of our residents, make sure that we're ensuring public safety and that our parks are taken care of, and that money has to come from somewhere. So I think having that discussion would be a smart thing for council to do. Whether or not they decide to give money to another department is a whole nother piece, but I think that it's important to have that discussion. Thank you.
This is my final scheduled question, so if there's other questions, please make sure you raise your hand and pass those to Andrea. The Financial Sustainability Task Force, a group of dedicated volunteers that the council and mayor handpicked and appointed, spent collectively thousands of hours and almost a year going over the city's financials and came up with recommendations of priorities of government, including priority 1, policing, priority number 2, public works, arterial roads and street maintenance, priority 3, economic development, priority 4, public works, water, sewer, and surface water systems and maintenance, priority number 5, information technology. What are your thoughts of the task force recommendations and how would you implement their priorities? Brenda.
I agree with their recommendations except for leaving out parks. I agree with public safety being number 1 because, again, looking at citing businesses here, citing residents here, you're not going to move to someplace or you're not going to open a business someplace if you don't think that you're going to be safe. And so I think it's imperative that we keep our community safe. We have a great police department who has been working to do that. We have Right now, they're still looking for police officers, staff up to where they need to be. They're interested in community policing. And so I think that that would be number one. I agree with needing the roads, and some of those go hand in hand, economic development. You know, people may not be able to see the worth in having a median strip looking good, but again, it goes to where do you want to live? Where do you want to site your business? And what is that area going to look like if you're trying to draw business to it? So there's a lot of things that we can do to make sure that we're still moving the city forward. Just that I think parks also have a piece in that. Again, huge economic impact to the city. I cannot think of a single top 10 city that does not have a viable parks department. And so I think that that would be a detriment for us to leave that one out.
Thank you. Tony?
So I think that this is a good list, but I too think that we should have parks on there. When I look at number one, and I am out talking to residents, public safety is a number one priority for most of our residents. They want to feel safe in the city they live in, and I think that that's important that, again, we make sure our police department has the tools they need so that our residents feel safe. Number two being public works. I think that one of the second things that you seem to hear from residents is our streets and our sidewalks. There's constant complaints about potholes or issues with people's streets, you know, falling apart in front of their houses. That seems to be another big concern. So having that number two is probably in a good place, but I'd like to see parks number three on that list. Again, parks are important to our families. It's important that our families have a place to be active. We have a group of young people that are not necessarily buying homes now. They're waiting and they're looking for quality, affordable housing, and they want that green space. They want that place where they can get out and recreate. And it's a place that everybody can do it together. So I would like to see parks on that list. Thank you.
And Paul?
Yeah, so I don't have a big problem with the list. I think parks could possibly be in the top 5. I think obviously if you're having a financial sustainability task force, you have an idea that maybe you could learn something about how to do your finances. So I think there is some room for improvement, as I mentioned before. And so if we could make sure that we control the waste that's going on and the way that we budget in Kent, I think could save us a lot of money, so we could fit more stuff into the same money that they're saying it would take to do these things. I think I'm more of an either-or thinker, or both and, not an either-or thinker. So I think it's, although it is a prioritized list, I think it's important to do things like come up with ideas to save money on these things that are in the top 5, like shared service delivery, some of the ideas like that, that would help save us money and give better services to people and have more money to do other things like parks. So if we can put the right systems in place, we could have the money to do these and more as well. I do appreciate the work that they did, and I think it's important to prioritize, but I think we can do things in a way that could give us more, a list that we can do more things with the same amount of money. And I think that's important for the future. As far as sustainability goes, we keep doing what we've been doing. We're going to continue to have a lot of things pile up like the parks do that aren't going to get done. So I think that's an important way to tackle everything at once. So thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Satwinder?
I would say I agree with the list. I do agree with what Brenda and Tony said as well, and Paul. But parks are very important to our community. Our families depend on them for recreation because not everybody has, money to travel places. They are going to the parks for, they're at Lake Meridian, or they're in trails. I mean, we use our trails for running, and we have amazing trails in the community. So I think they should make it to the top. Because having parks, it's very important it drives in more people to live in the city. It drives in businesses. Your employees are happier. Like during the break, maybe they can go enjoy a park. During their lunch break, they can hang out in a park, So having parks on the list is very, very important for our community as well. But rest of the, yes, public safety, doorbelling, it's very, our residents say public safety is number one for them. So yes, we do need to focus on providing resources for our police department, training them properly to make sure that our residents feel safe. And there's also, some of the residents also feel disconnected, and there's that trust issue between the police department. And we also need to work on that, building that trust with our residents. So, and economic development, sidewalks, I mean, if we have great roads, we'll drive in businesses, we'll be able to have, attractive businesses coming to our city so our residents can work in Kent, live in Kent, and play in Kent. Thank you.
Thank you. So we have time for one more question, and thank you for all the questions that came forward and your beautiful handwriting. Sister Mary would be so proud. So we're going to go, I'm going to read the question. I've kind of put two of them together for our candidates. And I'm going to start with Paul, just so you're listening. How will you know what, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that like that.
Oh, no.
I'm sorry.
I'm still here.
You get what you pay for. How will you know what the public wants on issues and policies? And what is the biggest opportunity for the council in 2018?
I think going out into the community, that I've done during this campaign, doorbelling, canvassing the neighborhoods, having going to events where the people are, listening to them. I think listening is how you find out what people want, and I'm hearing the same things that everybody else is hearing. That public safety is a big issue here. I think the Kent police force, I think we're way under the national average as far as patrol men and women for the size of city we are. I think we're maybe at around 11 or 12 per 10,000. The national average is about 16, I think, something like that per 10,000 residents. We need more patrol officers, and we're going to have to find ways to find qualified people to want to come here and do it in Kent. So I think that's what I'm hearing. That's how I hear it when I go out and talk to people, being involved in the community as I am. You hear a lot of people, when they find out you're running, usually you don't get a lot of calls till right before after the voter guy goes out, they get your phone number, they start calling. But if you go out there, people want to talk about all kinds of things. And I think it's just getting out and being a part of the community is how you do it. And the going forward, the city council, I think making the city council, having members like they do, go out into the community and listen to the people. Don't expect everybody to come to you. You need to get out there and go to them. So I think that's something the city council does and should continue to do.
Thank you. Tony.
So I think these questions, these two kind of go hand in hand. When you ask what the public wants and the biggest opportunity, it's out there listening to residents, hearing what they want, and then making that change. Again, when I am out there meeting with residents, our residents want to feel safe. They want to know that our community is being taken care of. They also want to know that we are spending their money wisely. And when it comes to the biggest opportunity in 2018, there's some changes that are going to come for the council in the next few years. And what we need to do is we have an opportunity to work together and to make change and to do good things so that Kent continues to be a great place for our families to live. And that may be making some tough decisions when we talk about the budget and things that are coming down with losing our annexation money and possibly losing our streamlined sales tax. That's going to hit Kent pretty hard, and it means that we are going to have to make some tough decisions. And I think that opportunity is for the council to rise, to come together, and to be able to show the residents of Kent we're doing what's best for the city. And that's going to be prioritizing and making some tough decisions. But I think that opportunity, again, is coming together and showing the city of Kent that we want to continue to make this a great place and to make that happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Brenda.
I think that we have a great opportunity when it comes to, as she was saying, our police department, continuing to bring and bridge the uneasiness between some of our communities and the police department. Also engaging all of the communities in the city, making sure that we have people who are not engaged right now, especially from some of our different ethnic communities, getting them engaged. We're a stronger city. When everybody is rowing in the same direction, we're stronger for it. So getting everybody involved in making Kent a viable place, whether it be hiring. You know, we need jobs out there. You guys are job creators. A lot of our small businesses are. We need to get everybody working. There are job openings, getting that word out. ShoWare is hiring. But do a lot of people know that right now? So a lot of opportunity within our communities getting people working. And then I think that we have a good it's a good time addressing homelessness and the rising cost of rent. You might have read that, I believe we're number 6 as far as rents going up. So the whole cost of living, whether that's housing supply, whether it's zoning, whether all of the things that go into that. So I think that those are 2 good opportunities. Did I miss one of those parts of the question?
I don't know.
Well, then we'll go with that.
Thank you, Brenda. Satwinder.
Okay. Well, I believe the council needs to get out. And how I believe bring the change is you need to go out and talk to the community, which I have been doing during the campaign season and attending events. I mean, and I started attending events when I was working for the mayor's office, and I have not stopped going out there talking to the community. I announced I'm running for office in January, but I had been doing all these things the whole time. And that's how I got to running for office. You know, people talked to me, they had conversations with me, and they said, you would be the best candidate to run for office. And that's when I decided to run for office. So I believe as a council member, you need to be out there attending council meetings, being educated, and having conversations with the community. And another aspect that Brenda just touched on is our communities, they don't know what a mayor and a council member does. I did not know what mayor and council does before I started working for them, and I've lived here, right? And so a lot of our communities don't know that, so we need to educate them. We need to go to their events, their areas of gathering, and we need to have conversations with all these different communities, all these different residents we have in our city, because we are stronger together. And you know, we can do so much more with all these people involved, because they are very happy to be involved. They're very happy to volunteer in the community. They just don't know how to. And in 2018, I see housing affordability being a big issue. Homelessness has been on the increase, and we need to work on that, mental health issues. And also, you know, just, you know, our issues that we have in our city, like budget, fiscal,
Thank you,
financial
Satwinder.
issues. Thank you.
So we're going to go to the closing statements now. You have 60 seconds. I'm getting concurrence that we're still on time. Okay. And to start the order, we start with Brenda.
Okay, and I think that I did miss part of that question, and how do I know what the people want? And by that, I find that out by talking to people, by going out to the neighborhoods, going to a meeting, whether it be in a garage, whether it be at Showare, whether it be at the senior center, whether it be in a cul-de-sac in a neighborhood, or actually going to people's apartments and houses, knocking on their doors, and sometimes answering a call where you get invited in. I didn't talk about things that I've done in the community and volunteering. So I volunteered here starting the year that I moved here. And I've been involved in a number of ways. I've been PTA president in a number of different local units. I've also served as area vice president for Kent Area Council PTA. I volunteered on the multi-faith boards work. I mentioned Kent Youth and Family Services, feeding the homeless. We have the terrific Tuesday meals and the Friday meals, running a homeless shelter at my church, the police strategic planning, Parks and Recreation Citizens Committee.
Thank you, Brenda.
You're welcome.
We're a community that cares. Tony.
Again, I just want to thank the Chamber for inviting candidates to come and speak today. These were great questions, and I hope that I answered them. Any additional questions that were asked, I do have cards, and my phone number and information is all out there. So feel free to email, to call me. I'd love to speak with you and answer any additional questions that you have. So thank you again.
Thank you. Satwinder.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to come speak here. And I'm here to work for you to make sure Kent is a great place to work, play, and live. I'm the only candidate in the race to be endorsed by Kent firefighters, Mayor Cook, majority of the City Council, Senator Joe Fain, our state reps Tina Orwell and Mia Gregerson, and many more. I have a track record of working hard to improve the lives of our community and surrounding communities. So I have been endorsed by our regional leaders, including Auburn Mayor Nancy Backus and Renton Mayor Dennis Law. I will listen to your concerns and make sure your voice is heard. And I humbly ask for your vote and your support in November. And you can learn more about me on my website, or you can contact me. My information's all out there at coreforkent.com. Thank you.
Thank you. Paul.
So thank you also for having us here. I want to be the kind of candidate that I would vote for. I want to be the kind of city council member that I would want representing me. This is why I do what I do, because I think people should come first, and that's what I'm about. I've been endorsed by top officials at the Progressive Party of Washington, the Libertarian Party of Washington, and the vice chair of the Republican Party of King County. So I've got a wide array of support for my campaign from different sides, and there aren't just two sides out there in the political world, and although you may have been told differently. But so because I get that support because I care about people, I put principle over party. Even though this is a nonpartisan race, there are those ideologies, and I put people and principle above all of that. And that is what I'm about. So I want to give that option to the people of Kent. I want to be a good steward of your tax money to make sure it's spent wisely and that your taxes are low and your benefits are high. So that's what I would like to do for Kent. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And so on behalf of the Kent Chamber and of the citizens of Kent, thank you for running. This is, it's not an easy task, and you put yourself out there, and we really appreciate your commitment to our communities. So I'll turn it back to Andrea.
All right, and again, thank you to Multi-Service Center for sponsoring this luncheon and Golden Steer for hosting us. A big thank you to our moderator, Carmen, who does a great job at this, and our candidates.